Not long ago, the idea of Benjamin Sesko in a Manchester United shirt seemed far-fetched. United's decision-makers weren't exactly queuing up to pay top dollar, a full 32 points behind Arsenal. At that stage, Arsenal were the ones in the driving seat. Years of groundwork had gone into a potential deal. But when Andrea Botta came in as sporting director at the Emirates, the Gunners' attention shifted to Victor Gyökeres. Talks with Sesko's camp stalled. Price tags were deemed excessive and Arsenal backed out entirely. Suddenly, the player who thought he was heading to a Champions League contender was left without a clear suitor, and that's when the summer's most unexpected tug-of-war began. Leipzig had a gentleman's agreement with Sesko. If a special club came with an 80 to 90 million euro offer, they'd let him go. Arsenal's withdrawal meant Leipzig were happy to keep him and sell elsewhere to meet their 100 million euro summer sales target. But when Isak's exit loomed, Newcastle dived back in. Meanwhile, United's focus was on reinforcing Ruben Amorim's 3-4-2-1 with two number 10s. They brought in Matthias Cunha and Brian Mbeumo, and then came the spark. On a fishing trip in Iceland with Sir Jim Ratcliffe, CEO Omar Barada and football director Jason Wilcox redefined their window. Follow-up meetings in Chicago made Sesko the number one striker target. The Glazers nodded their approval. Game on. If anyone was going to get Sesko to United, it was Christopher Vivell. He'd discovered the Slovenian at Domžale in 2018, signing him for Salzburg and beating United to his signature back then. Now, as United's recruitment chief, Vivell had history, data, and a personal stake. Amorim, Barada, and Wilcox didn't need convincing. They'd been tracking Sesko for 7 years, but Newcastle weren't about to sit quietly. They'd tried for Sesko in 2022 before landing Isak, and with their Swedish forward now agitating for a move, they reignited contact. The problem? Newcastle's leadership was in flux. No sporting director, no chief executive. Head of recruitment Steve Nixon fronted talks with Sesko's camp, while minority owner Jamie Rubin handled Leipzig negotiations. Arsenal's prior interest had already planted the seed that Sesko was worth fighting for. Suddenly, it was two Premier League clubs, one desperate for a first-choice forward, the other desperate to stop their season from unraveling before it started, locked on the same man. The Sesko camp told both clubs they'd need time to decide. Newcastle struck first, 75 million euros plus 5 million euros in add-ons. It felt rushed, almost panicked, and Sesko's team suspected they were just a stalking horse to push United along. Newcastle upped their offer to at least 80 million euros after positive talks, believing they were making headway. At Old Trafford, there was no panic. Executives reasoned that if Sesko truly wanted Newcastle, the deal would already be done. They waited for the green light, the one where Sesko's people would say, he wants Manchester United. When it came, United pounced with 75 million euros plus 10 million euros in add-ons. Newcastle countered with 82.5 million euros plus 2.5 million euros, but by then, it was over. Negotiations in Leipzig were smooth and quick, a world away from the slog that was Mbeumo. Final deal, 76.5 million euros plus 8.5 million euros in add-ons. Same 85 million euro package as Newcastle's, but 6 million euros less upfront. In transfer poker, United had slow played it and won. Who offered more money? Depends who you ask. United insist Sesko's wages fit neatly into their existing structure. Newcastle claim they couldn't offer more than £200,000 per week with bonuses, but that Old Trafford's package was higher. Whatever the truth, the deciding factor was opportunity. At United, Sesko arrives as the undisputed first-choice striker. Højlund is up for sale at just over £30 million, with Milan interested. Rashford's gone to Barcelona on loan, Garnacho could join Chelsea, and the so-called bomb squad is being dismantled. At Newcastle, uncertainty over Isak's future cast a shadow. For all their fight tooth and nail rhetoric, their pursuit felt like it was always playing catch-up. And deep down, they feared they were only inflating Sesko's salary demands for United's benefit. By the end, the mood at St James's Park was one of resignation. They'd been in the race, but they'd never truly been in control. United's summer has already committed them to a potential £200 million plus spend. Sales were supposed to fund signings, but with £150 million still to be raised, borrowing capacity of £140 million remains in the background. Ratcliffe hates using it, likening it to credit card debt, but sanctioned a £100 million drawdown last summer. The mood internally is tense. Amorim's job, Barada's strategy, and Wilcox's recruitment are all under the microscope. After the humiliation of last season, there's no patience for slow rebuilds. Sesko wasn't just a signing, he was a statement. The striker they've chased in some form for 7 years, the one Vivell unearthed, the one Arsenal couldn't land, and the one Newcastle tried to hijack. Now he walks into Old Trafford carrying expectation, history, and the weight of a special club clause that has to mean something. United have their man. No more excuses.